The situation we are witnessing right now feels less like a headline and more like the opening chapter of a survivor thriller. China has pulled off something truly staggering. They have managed to lock down a war that seemed inevitable, all without firing a single shot or even standing in the spotlight. While the rest of the world have been focused on the dramatic role of Pakistan as the host and Donald Trump's terrifying warnings of a civilian end, the real story has been happening in the shadows. It was a silent, calculated grip of Beijing that finally forced two of the world's most stubborn rivals, the United States and Iran, to take their hands off the trigger and sit down in Islamabad. To understand how human and how terrifying this moment is, we have to look back at the first week of April 2026. This wasn't just a political disagreement, it was a total breakdown of the global nervous system. When Iran's blockade of the Staitofhormuz, they didn't just want to stop ships, they stopped the heartbeat of the global economy. Families across the world felt it instantly as gas prices doubled and food supply lines began to fracture. The tension reached a fever pitch on the night of April 7. Imagine the atmosphere in the White House or the bunkers in Tehran, the air thick with the realization that one wrong move could end the world as we know it. President Trump took to the Truth Social and issued a message that sent a shiver through every person who read it. Entire civilizations will die tonight. For a few hours, the world collectively held its breath, waiting for the first missile to fly. But 90 minutes before the deadline, the dragon moved. China's intervention wasn't about flowery speeches or appeals to humanity. It was about the brutal, cold reality of survival. Behind the scenes, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi was reportedly on phone for 48 hours straight, making over 26 marathon calls to regional leaders. Their message to Tehran was simple and devastating. China essentially told Iran, "We are your only customer. If you close the strait and start this war, we will not only stop buying your oil, we will freeze every cent you have in our banks." For a country like Iran, which sells approximately 1.4 million barrels of oil to China every single day, that wasn't a diplomatic suggestion, it was a death sentence. Within hours, the defiance in Tehran began to crack. At the same time, Beijing was whispering to Washington. They knew Trump's greatest fear wasn't a war, but an economic collapse at home that would destroy his legacy. China offered the US an out, a way to win without a single American soldier losing their life. They promised to pull Iran back from the ledge if Trump agreed to a new kind of trade deal. It was the art of the deal on a global or life-death sentence scale. The physical setting for this miracle was of survival in Islamabad, Pakistan. There is something deeply human about the fact that in our high-tech, satellite-monitored world, the only place these enemies felt safe enough to talk was a heavily guarded, low-tech military complex. Every delegate who entered was stripped of their phones and watches. There was no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, and no way for a leak to happen. They were just humans in a room, forced to look at one another and realize that the alternative to talking was total destruction. Pakistan, led by Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir, provided the fortress where this could happen, using their unique position as a friend to both East and West. The result of these grueling hours in that black box in Islamabad is a 10-point ceasefire plan. It's a fragile document, but it is the only thing standing between us and a global meltdown. Here's exactly what that hard-won agreement looks like in its current form. Point 1 through point 3 spoke about naval security. The parties have agreed to immediate reopening of the traffic separation scheme, shipping lanes, to ensure fairness and safety. These lanes will be under the neutral supervision of Oman, ensuring that oil can once again flow to a desperate world. Point 4 through point 6 highlighted the military de-escalation. Point 7 through point 9 highlighted on psychological peace. Point 10 then highlighted the economic breach. While this 14-day ceasefire feels like a victory, we have to be honest with ourselves. Is it a very thin band-aid on a very deep wound? What we are seeing is a fundamental shift in the world. For the first time, the United States, the world so powerful for decades, had to rely on its greatest rival, China, to solve a crisis in its own backyard. By allowing point 10 to stand, Washington has essentially admitted that the US dollar is no longer the only game in town. There is a human cost to this subscription diplomacy. Peace is no longer something negotiated in the open. It is a service provided by a silent power in exchange for influence. China has saved the world from a war this week, but they have also tightened their grip on the world's most vital energy corridor. We are moving into a future where our safety depends on the interests of a silent dragon in Beijing. For the people living in the region and for the families watching their bank accounts and the news, these 14 days are a gift of time. It is a moment to breathe, to hope, see if these two nations can move past their history of hatred. But as the delegates walk through the high security gates in Islamabad, the reality remains. The path to peace is narrower than it had ever been. We are no longer living in a world of certainties, but in a world of tense pulses, where the next 90 minutes could mean the difference between a new beginning or the end of everything. What we have seen in Islamabad isn't just a political maneuver. It is a reflection of our shared vulnerability. It took the threat of civilization dead to get us here. The coming days will tell us if humanity is ready to choose the different path, or if we are still simply waiting for ceasefire to expire. For now, the dragon's shadow is the only thing keeping the sun from setting on the Gulf. Thank you for watching the Global Observer. I'm Awesome Labdi, your host, and I'll see you in another one.